everyone, welcome to ZETA IAS. Today we are going to discuss history questions of GS Mains 2025. So first we will break down the questions according to the topics in history. First, we have questions from art and culture. Art and culture. We have three questions: the Harappan architecture one, Akbar's religious syncretism, and Chandela sculptors. Chandela sculptors, the temple form. Okay, the ancient and medieval history. Art and culture, part of ancient and medieval history. Next we have questions of post-independence. Post-independence question, trace India's consolidation after independence. And third we have world history question of French Revolution. Okay, so we have three topics: art and culture, world history, and post-independence. So let's start the discussion. Discuss the salient features of the Harappan architecture. As you can see, this question is for 150 words and 10 marks. You don't have to write in detail about the Harappan civilization. You have to write in detail about the Harappan architecture. The Harappan architecture. Okay. So for the introduction, we will start with the Harappan civilization, how it started, where it started, when it started, and what were the developments that were made. Then we'll come to the Harappan architecture. You can watch a detailed video of Harappan civilization on our YouTube channel also. In Harappan architecture, we will start with the division of the urban planning, the division of the city into lower town and citadel. As you all know, it was Harappan civilization was a very urban planned city, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. The cities, the arrangement of the houses were in grid pattern. Okay, the city was divided into block. The streets crossed at right angle. We will also talk about the great bath, granary. We will talk about the great bath, granary, the beautiful brickwork that was done in the great bath, the fire altars, the burials. We will also mention about the drainage system, the water management system that existed in Harappan civilization. That is very important. Do mention that also. So these are all the points you have to mention. Okay, for Harappan architecture. Now let's move to next question. This is another question of art and culture of the medieval history. Examine the main aspects of Akbar's religious syncretism. This is also for 150 words. So what do you know about religious syncretism? This word syncretism itself means the amalgamation of different religion, different school of thought, different culture. So Akbar's religious policy was also like that. As you all know that Akbar ruled from 1556 to 1606. He was a religiously tolerant ruler. He was a spiritual and a liberal ruler. Akbar, in 1582, he abolished the pilgrim tax on Hindus. He abolished mostly all the unjust laws that were made during the time. In 1585 AD, he abolished jizya. Okay, you will write about all these things also. In 1582 AD, pilgrim tax, all the unjust tax, pilgrim tax. In 1585 AD, jizya. He believed in the policy of Sulekul, that is the universal peace. That means he was Sulekul. He had respect for all the religions. He treated all the religions with equality, and he had faith in the truth. And for that, he constructed in 1575 AD Ibadat Khana at Fatehpur Sikri, where scholars of all religion and all school of thoughts attended the discussion on Thursday evenings, and which also made him culminate his own religion, that is Deen-e Ilahi, which was the religion of God. We will write about Sulekul, Ibadat Khana, and Deen-e Ilahi. These are all the developments. You will write about that. Akbar in 1582, he also prohibited the slaughter of animals like sheep and horses. And in 1587, he promoted vegetarianism also. You can write about all these points in this religious syncretism of Akbar. This Akbar's religious policy actually favored him as an ideology and cultural strategy to promote, and that therefore he was one of the most different ruler in Delhi, and which made him the most popular ruler also. Now let's move to next question. This is another question of early medieval history, and this is not an easy one. As you can see, previously lot of questions have been asked about Cholas, Pallavas, and now this time they have asked about the Chandela art form, Chandela rulers. The sculptors fill the Chandela art form with resilient vigor and breadth of life. Elucidate. So here you can see that the question is talking about the sculptors. Sculptors means the temples. The sculptors are the human. So the temples that were made, the temples that were constructed during the Chandela period. The Chandela dynasty ruled from 9th to 13th century. They were patron of temple art form, and in the central India, mostly in the Bundelkhand region. Bundelkhand region. And their most celebrated contribution is the Khajuraho temples, the Khajuraho complex. You will write about that Khajuraho complex, which is also recognized by UNESCO World Heritage. It is recognized by UNESCO World Heritage, and it is made in the Nagara style of architecture, where you have raised platform, access to the staircase, there is Garbhagriha, and there is raised towers. So you can write about that. There were lot of other The Chandela art, that was remarkable. The sculpture were remarkable as they were very dynamic. The You can write about the dynamism which gave them the resilient vigor. The sculptures, the Tribhanga, you can give example of Tribhanga, which appears to be alive and very dynamic. Okay, Tribhanga. You can write about the animal motif that were on present on the temple plinths, like animal, like elephant, horses. There were floral carvings also on the temple walls that shows there were portrayal of warriors also that showed strength and resilience. And the erotic sculptures, they also symbolized fertility, and it was a harmony with the nature, and it celebrated the spiritual journey, the Kama Sutra, the spiritual journey. So you have to write about all these things in this Chandela temple. Next is the question of post-independence. So this is a long question for 250 words. Trace India's consolidation process during early phase of independence in terms of polity, economy, education and international relations. So India's independence was a historical process. It was a historical process, and it took a lot of time for India to get independent and for the development of India, for the India as a nation. So it had to face a lot of challenges like the mass migration, the reorganization of the state, the development in the states, in the cities, the education. We were economically very backward due to exploitation from Britishers. So there were lot of challenges which India had to face. In terms of polity, you will write there was a lot of political unrest after independence. So here you can write about the establishment of a constitutional framework for parliamentary democracy. Okay, and there was a reorganization of states on the linguistic line. And there was constitutional framework the integration of princely states. You can write all these points. In polity, okay, how and when the principles of equality, fraternity and all these were actually adopted in the constitutional framework. In the economy part, you can write about the adoption of mixed economy model, the planning development, the planning commission, the mixed economy, the focus on heavy industry, which would have made India self-reliant and promoted development. Focus on heavy industry. So these are all points for economic development. For the education, you will write about the human capital development through establishments of UGC, IITs, ISRO. These are all the educational institutes that were opened. The education institutes were open in the rural area also, which promoted community development and wanted the development of the nation as a whole. Next, we come to international relations. Here you can talk about the non-alignment movement for pursuing our independent foreign policy, the support of the anti-colonial movement, and the autonomy from the Cold War superpower blocs. You can also write about the Panchsheel principle of Panchsheel Agreement in 1954 signed with China for the peaceful coexistence and India's stability in Asia. You can write about all these things. Panchsheel, Panchsheel, and NAM. You can write about all these things in this question. Okay. Now let's move to next question. This question is from world history, and it's an easy question since we have all studied about French Revolution a lot of times. The French Revolution has enduring relevance to the contemporary world. What it means that the principles of French Revolution, how is it so relevant today also in this contemporary world? So first you will write what is French Revolution, what was the protest all about, the abolition of feudalism, the establishment of social governance, the universal franchise. You will write about all these things about French Revolution, all the principles of liberty, equality, fraternity. Fraternity, equality. So you will write about all these principles of French Revolution and how is it relevant. All these principles are still relevant about the human rights, justice, and democracy. So you can cite examples of the current situation of Israel, Palestine, Bangladesh, and apparently the situation of Nepal also, about the democracy and all the rights. Okay. This is all for the history discussion of Mains 2025. I hope this helps and happy learning.